this highlight mix along the outer edge. Now I can take my time. And now this is highlighting our outer edges. Then we work our way in. And you want it to come in nice and soft. And I'll just mop that a bit. And while I'm letting that dry, I'll come and I'll float over here. And you can kind of just wiggle it along as you go. We're going to be adding veins in here after. Linda, on yours, I added on. Okay. Again, out here. You're following your line drawing. And it ends up leaving a little hollow in here. Every now and then, give it a bath. Find a paper towel. Patty, do you feel like you're back being a nurse? Scalpel. Thank you. And like I say, every now and then I like to give it a little wiggle. There's so many colors and tints that we put on here. Now this leaf is folding over and this one's coming backwards towards it. Now see, Patty, how you have white transfer under there? Mm-hmm. And you tend to see that white. More dark? Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I find I like to do a dark transfer. It kind of hides away. We are going to be doing a dark float in here as well, which will help to get rid of that. But you do tend to, so I kind of go back wherever I see the white pop back through and kind of strengthen that up a little bit. So we're going to float all of those highlight colors on like that. And this is in our first mix. So with the thin down, we pull these little veins. And I just kind of follow the direction that I've done them already in my picture. But if they're coming in these directions, it appears to make your cabbage again. It helps with the rounding of them. Some people, it's better for them to turn their piece to that direction. It's whatever works for you. But these veins come from the bottom upward. You see how they die down? Mm-hmm. So if the paint is too thin, you kind of lose your vein. So, okay, so that's our step. I'm going to add a few more in this background here.
There's some. Are there more in the other green leaves as well?
Mm-hmm. In the background section, I haven't added them. So we'll add. I did on that one, but we add them here coming in. they get shaded down afterwards, so you kind of lose a little bit of them, but that's fine. You'll see them, and they add more dimension to our cabbage. All right, so that's what we're going to do now,
And that's
is
the same-
dry brush and then add the veins in this. And it's the same color that we made of our mix that we did our floating.
Can I borrow the cabbage? I forgot to put the center lines in.
Can you borrow the cabbage? Oh, the transfer.
Transfer. Couldn't think.
I, you did the outer ones though, Betty?
Yeah. And the bottom. I forgot to
I like to go in and add a little with my liner, just kind of add a little thick bit of a ruffle. Just in the odd spot, and it kind of helps to, and we have to shade next to these after, so you might end up having to retouch these up.
That's what he did. His undergrad is in biochemistry, cancer biology. Okay. So it's all the protein biology for cancer. And that's what his thesis was in.
Just adding that little extra definition. So we're going to take, I hate when it jiggles. We're going to take avocado and we're shading along the back of the cabbage. I want to walk this out a bit because we are going, so you lean to the water side of your brush as you paint away, because we are going to be shading again to strengthen it with a darker color. So if we don't have our avocado coming out far enough, it just hides it, right? So we're going to shade all the way around the outer edges. And I'm just going to hit this with the dryer for a sec. That's the coffee pot.
I know, the girls clothes look not that good.
That's all right. When I record these, people know we're recording from a class. I've actually had people comment that it was kind of neat to be knowing that they were in a class. Okay, so nice and soft. I mop that out, and then I'm going to be coming underneath all of these. So you'll see this as you're looking at your colored photo. It's on there, so it shows all of the spaces that we're coming in behind.
Looks so real.
And it's crazy that all of these steps make such a difference. Now, there is one piece, which is, do you see here that this piece, so that's right here, this has the look that the edge is rippled up. So you just kind of back to back float, but you're leaving that little space in between. So it ends up giving it the look of that. So that's the one step I wanted to show you. And then I'm going to show one more that we can do before we do our dark shading on everything. So I'm going to take medium Hauser green or Hauser medium green, and we're going to float here and there. So this is like what I mean by here and there. So you're kind of floating a tint of this green in a few places. You don't want it everywhere. So we're just going to come through and we're going to float a little here and there. So I still see my celery shoot mix and celery, but I do want to, so where I went over my edge there, that would be a perfect spot to choose to put a little of that nice Hauser medium. So we just kind of put a little in a few spots here and there, but you really see the difference it starts to make in it. And we're going to be doing a fair bit later on of that blue mix as well. So when you look at your cabbage in the end, you still see those medium Hauser ones. You still see the celery shoot, but you see a lot of that blue that's going to happen and pop in there too. So all of this makes a really big difference. Okay, so that's our mission that we're going to go for now. So we're shading avocado on the round center head, and then we're tinting a little here and there with the medium house. I'm using the 5/8, nice big brush, walk around here, and I'll come all the way along the bottom, walk it up, use my mop, and I'll come back a second time and strengthen this afterwards. So I'm just going to give it a little hit because I came up higher. So you always have to work when you're doing like this leaf. I worked from the outside in. Now this one, I'm going to work from the bottom up. So we worked this bottom section, and now I'm doing this one. Walk that up. The reason being is I'm not wiping it out. If I did this one first, if I did that first and then tried to come down here, my water part of my brush is going to wipe it off, right? So I shouldn't have transferred that line there. I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to do this. I'm going to dry it. And then I'm switching to a smaller brush. I can go my 1/4 inch or my 3/8. I kind of like to stick with the 3/8. But the 1/4, you might feel better. We don't want to, remember I talked about we're going to come here and we don't want to cover all of our first shading. So we're going to come in here and we're going to strengthen all of these sections. Everywhere we have previously shaded, we're going to strengthen. So I'm going to come along, and this is with our dark Hauser. And that's on this little section in here. I'm also going to be doing that back up here. So this one I've got, so he's flipped, so I have to go on the back of it. Underneath, flip my brush over because now I'm going behind. So do you see how this is strengthening everything up? Like while it's wet, it does make it a little harder to see, but it makes a huge difference in our look of our cabbage. Now we are coming.
You go behind this?
Yep. I believe I know what you mean, Bren. Like right here, where I flip my thing around and shade back here. Is that what you mean?
Side on the right hand side, but you get over by your brushes.
I did here. I'm going to...
But you know, did you go like above that, the top part?
No, that's light on the outer edges.
Okay.
No. And Brenda, you know better than right to your right. Come on now.
I know.
Okay, nice and soft. And I kind of pat shade as I go along, so it's not a smooth trim. It gives it... And then I'm going to shade in behind as well. So this one here ends up being like a back-to-back shading because it's on that center round ball as well as behind it. And so now I can come in here and strengthen this. This is dried enough to come in and strengthen up. And I think I'll get my big brush out again to strengthen down there. So once this is dry enough, I'll shade against here. So that inside that little hollow where the leaves are covering over is going to be dark on both sides. Okay? And then we have still another step to do on this. So
What about the center?
So I'm making veins now. I'm going to make a mix 1-to-1 blue mist and warm white. And I'm going to just kind of add some light veins in here. add these nice thin white veins mixed. So we've got these veins in here. And I'm going to take and thin down my dark Hauser. Oops, I dabbed into something else there. And I'm going to pull some dark veins coming up as well. So we've got both light and dark in here. And I'm going to pull some of these light ones, this blue mist white mix. I'll pull a few over here as well. Just a couple. You'll see how they fade in with everything after. Okay, so we've got veins in there. So that's our veins. Once we have those, I know you feel like you're never getting out of this cabbage, but this is our last little step to do on here. A lot of it I'm going to do with my 1/4 inch. You can use your 3/8. You can use your 3/8. This is my floating the highlight. And I can pull a few little chiselies down in the odd place if you feel like it. Nice, soft light. Do you see the difference already that makes? It's incredible. It just lifts those leaves. My board that I'm working on is quite jagged. It's a rough board. I liked the texture to it. This could have taken my 3/8 to do that one. So you'll walk it down. Now you see this same color is what's going to make a difference in the rest of the piece here. I'm going to take and I'm going to float some of this blue in a lot of areas. I'm coming up the back of this leaf. I'm going to take here, and this is where I said to you, you're going to lose a lot of your tints, but you'll still see them through. I'm not, again, it's not everywhere, but there is a fair bit of this. This is one you'll get kind of carried away with, I think, too. But doesn't this make a huge... So as I'm going, I'm gonna, my board's rough there, I see. But there is still a little bit, now I'm gonna do more, but I just want you to get the gist of this, that it's on this one as well. And I just walk it back a little bit, nice and soft. Decide which side of that little flip I'm going to make. But isn't that it? Just so you can see where it really could use some up here now. So I'm going to clean them up, and then there'll be times where I'll say, okay, now I'm going to come back with my Hauser Dark. Where I've got like a little rough edge there, I can just come back and strengthen that back up again. And you see how that kind of cleans up my little edges. And so you're going to keep working back and forth. A lot of times I'll come back after and see how just coming softly through here after I've floated kind of softens that edge where it's on the edge of that. So everybody's will be different, and of course you'll want to strengthen up areas here and there, but this is the get out of those tarts. No, you can't help it. Well, it's funny because it never fails. There's something missing.
Oh, yes.
There's something missing when you go to make something.
That's why I don't bake.
Good excuse there, but so I made one of those outdoor fountain planters. Have any of you guys made them?
Those what?
I'm going to thin down, just to get these out of the way. I'm going to thin down burnt sienna, and we're going to add lines on our carrots. Now, you never want to have them all matching each other. Some start from one side, come part way, the other one can come all the way. You just want, and they curve a little tiny bit. So that's going to give you the look of the carrot. You're going to do that to the carrot in the bunny's arm as well. Then we're going to thin down. I'm hopping from veggie to veggie here because it's quicker for you to do this. So we're going to do, now you may see your little lines through. If you didn't trace them on, don't worry about it because you're just doing a grid. That's all I did to start with. I traced them on to make the pattern for you. But so just wiggle along. You don't want them neat and perfect. This is going to give us the shadowing in the background afterwards. This is thin down antique gold. And I'm just wiggling across, creating our individual niblets. All right? So, or kernels, whichever we want to call them. All right, so that's what we're going to do first. We're going to start by shading Rookwood Red. And if you have left the spot for those little greeneries, just go right across as if it's not there right now. You can shade underneath those individually later on once they're there, if you'd like a shadow under them. So I'm going to put that shadow on. I'm going to dry it really quickly. The heat gun does that nice and quick. So we're going to dry that, and then I'm going to come from the bottom. So now I come down there, shade along, walk it up. Of course, I'm all over my corn, but that doesn't matter. So I've shaded the bottom section. And I want to dry it. I'll just do that because I'd like to get this whole little section in here. We're going to take bleach sand on your dome stippler or dry brush, whichever. And we're going to softly dry brush. Now remember, it has to be dried before you do this. You can't go on with any moisture in there. So I do my highlight up in this top left side. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of bleach sand and nope, I'm in the wrong piece of fruit, guys. I'm in the wrong piece of fruit here. I don't want those two colors. That's in my carrot. I just want the spiced pumpkin. Alrighty, so I've got spiced pumpkin on my dry brush, and it's going to come on this side and up on top of this. You'll see that as it comes across here, it picks a little of that and lightens that. So this is our second highlight on our tomato. All right, that's your mission. I'm going to shade burnt sienna down the sides of my carrots. And a lot of times with this, I'll go back and strengthen it up afterwards. It's usually like two shadings. So I did down that side. Now I'm going to do the same thing here on this one. Nice and soft, don't press hard. Half of you are off the board, so it kind of skips out. And then we will dry that. And I do the carrot in the bunny's arm as well. And now I'm going to come back and repeat on this side of the carrot. So it works out to be like a back-to-back. But you have to dry in between because I want the float to come out far enough. At the same time, you want not to wipe out what you had on the other side. I'll dry it again, and then we're going to dry brush. So for dry brushing, this is where I'm picking up the spiced pumpkin and the bleached sand, a little bit of both. Scuff it off on your towel and then scratch down the middle as your highlight. You could have a bit more of the bleached sand in there. There we go. A little brighter. Okay. We're going to shade down both sides of our turnip with morning mist. We're going to start with, we've shaded, we've dried it, and I'm going to take a 1/4-inch lunar blender. I'm going to pick up some berry cobbler, just scuff lightly on your towel. You're not drying it off. And you see how I'm going to scratch inwards. Just part way down. Come in from this side. You must hit the camera to do it correctly. Swipe, swipe. Scratch inwards. Now when I'm doing this, I want to try to leave a little bit of white around that stem. I'm going to give my brush a kind of clean off and just scuff off. We're not washing it. And I'm going to pick up black plum, do the same thing. I really should scratch it so that I'm seeing still some of the berry cobbler. We're going to shade along the edges as well. So you see berry cobbler, you see black plum. I think that's kind of good for me. And then I'm going to shade along the outer edges, dry it and shade on the outer edges. Now I'm going to softly shade around the outer edges where we did the scratching. I'm not going all the way down. Just kind of twist and fade off. I've mixed golden yellow and buttermilk, and we're going to float using a number 2 or a 1/8 flat. You can use your lunar blender if you'd like to side load and scratch it on with that as well. So I'm floating, and you see it's like a U. I could have had another line down there. So I'm going to work my way down doing those. Do all of the kernels. And then I'm just going to give it a quick dry so I can do the second part of this for you. Now, I called for buttermilk, but I'm going to add a tiny bit of this yellow mix in there just to tint it a wee bit, not very much. Still should look buttermilk, but I found the buttermilk just was looking, I probably had a dirty brush when I did it, but the buttermilk was looking just a little white yesterday when we did it. So now it's the top of the kernels. Same thing. Highlight the tops of the kernels. So you're going to float the buttermilk, and I did just tint it a little bit with the And the whole thing is going to be floated around the green afterwards with the antique gold. I'm going to shade antique gold down both sides of my corn. And that's going to create there. So it just kind of brings that nice golden yellow into the kernels.